Welcome back to Skyline Scales, and this week we are going to take you guys herping! Well, not quite. We're going to teach you how to take yourselves herping. If you guys aren't familiar with the term of herping, it's a layman's term for going out and looking for reptiles and amphibians, and this is because herpetology is the study of reptiles and amphibians. Now, to go herping, we've summarized it down into 3 steps. And that is getting to know your species, getting to know your landscape, and packing your bag. So let's start with step 1. Alright, the first step you guys have is you want to know your target animal. What are you looking for when you go out herping? A lot of people do have broad ideas that they want to go look in this area and find everything they can. And that is totally acceptable. However, it is helpful to have a target animal. And then you have a goal to work towards, and you get an exciting treasure hunt for something specific. Now let's say our target animal this round is a Great Basin gopher snake. We're going to want to know where we can find it, what kind of environment it wants, when it's going to be active, and where it's going to hide. We'll start with where it lives. We want to know, are we going to find the snake in Alaska or are we going to find it down in Utah? This one we're going to find down in Utah and in the US. It's actually rather widespread in the US. More specifically the western US, so perfectly happy to find it here. Now, is it going to live in the mountains or on the plains? We're looking more on the plains. They're really common in agricultural fields, so that's kind of the area we're going to search. Next, we need to know, are they active at the day or night? Great Basin gopher snakes are diurnal. That means they're awake during the daytime. However, most snakes are more active during dawn and dusk, right at those beginning hours of light and heat, and at the end hours of light and heat. Once you have found your target animal and you know where you're going, you want to study the land you're going to. And I don't mean study the American continent. Instead, we want to study the Utah agricultural fields that we have permissions to go to, or the Utah sagebrush fields where they may be common. Now, we need to know very specific things about these areas. Is it private property? Is it legal to go there? Are we likely to find our animal there? We need to have a map so that we can get back and forth from our car and know how to get to the route that we want to be. We also need to know the specific laws of that area. Now, there are some county laws, even though they aren't common, but there are definitely state laws. Here in Utah, we have laws mostly on how many reptiles you can take from the wild. However, there are some laws on herping, like never kill a rattlesnake, that's a massive fine, and don't even think about touching a Gila monster. That's our state reptile, and you can't touch those, or else you can get a huge fine and maybe jail time. For my mapping, I like to use an app called Onyx Hunt. Now, they haven't sponsored this, but I really like them because they have a free version that's easy to use, and it lets me track where I go. It's going to tell me if I'm on public or private land, and I can mark on my own personal map where I found each individual species. Step 3 is to pack your bag. You're going to want to make sure that you're comfortable and ready to go once you have a mission set and plan. Starting with food and water. Make sure you have plenty of food and water because a 30-minute hike into the brush probably isn't going to warrant very much. You want to spend an hour or 2, probably even more. Oftentimes when I go herping, it is a 2-3 hour hike to see what I can find with a specific mission in mind. So make sure you have plenty of water to get through for everyone that's coming, as well as food to give you an extra pep in your step. Next is also for you. You're going to want bug spray and sunscreen because more often than not, when you go see reptiles, there's going to be lots and lots of bugs, especially when a lot of reptiles and amphibians are active at dawn and dusk, when the bugs are. You're also going to want sunscreen because it's going to be hot and you do not want to come off the mountain as a lobster. You also want some first aid supplies. Now, I'm not saying bring a gurney with you, but maybe bring a couple bandages or some Neosporin, or maybe some rubbing alcohol, so if you cut your hand or get bit by one of the animals you pick up, you can easily clean off the wound and run on your merry way. Now we get down to the fun stuff for the animals, like an identification book. It's extremely hard to know every animal in that area, especially when the boundaries of what animals can be where are very blurred. So I love to carry an ID book with me everywhere, not only to identify things I'm not completely familiar with, but also to sway my doubt. I admit I've picked up a side blotch lizard and went, side blotched or sagebrush? I am not sure. I think it's side blotched. So this book will help me decide that it is actually a side blotched lizard. It is just a variation without a spot on its side. Next, something to catch the animals with. Now, a lot of times your hands are going to do just fine as long as you know what you're doing. You know not to hurt the animal and how not to. But a hook can often come in handy to make sure that if it's slightly dangerous, you can scoot it out of the way. Or if you're nervous about picking it up with your hands, you can use your hook. I personally don't like to use the hook. It's a walking stick more than a tool for me. I like to use throwing nets, which seems a little bit off, but if I toss a throwing net, or more often than not my jacket, on top of the lizard, it stops it from running, and I can catch up to it a heck of a lot faster and slip my hand under the jacket and grab the lizard. Of course, make sure it's not a dangerous animal before you slip your hand under the jacket. That's also why I prefer throwing nets rather than jackets, because then I can see what I'm doing the whole time. I hope you guys do spectacular on your herping trip and find your goal species. Currently, we're working towards finding a rubber boa. I really want to find one this year, but we'll see how close we can get. Some additional tips that you guys can keep an eye on to do herping is going in the spring is very helpful because that's when the lizards are out about and looking for girlfriends and boyfriends. Also, dawn and dusk are really helpful to go, as well as right before and right after a rainstorm. Reptiles and amphibians seem to be a lot more active in those times. A lot of people like to go herping in a way called road cruising, which is you literally get in your truck at dusk and you drive until you see something. Because they often come out to the black road to get warm right before they go back to go take a nap. Down in the comments, I want to see two things from you guys. I want to see your craziest herping or something you never thought you'd find and you did find. I also want more ideas. It is time to renovate this cage, guys. What should we renovate it and make it look like? This enclosure has to look amazing, even amazing like her enclosure. So give me ideas. What should we decorate it as? Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and leave those comments. I really want to hear about your crazy herping trips. Also, ideas. I'm trusting you guys.